Hello! Congratulations on being chosen to compete in our Kids Healthy Cooking Competition. This year, you'll all be making tacos for our judges. You'll be judged based on cooking skill, presentation, taste, and time. So, since we're making tacos, you have lots of opportunity to make your own tacos unique. You're gonna get your choice of 8 different vegetables. You're gonna get to choose your own protein, your own shell, as well as seasonings and other toppings that you want. I'm gonna run through and do a little cooking demonstration on some of these different vegetables so you know how to cut them. When we're cutting, we always wanna make sure we're being safe. So that starts with washing our hands before we start cooking and making sure our cleaning surface is clean as well. Once you get everything clean and ready to go, you're ready to cut. As you're cutting, you're probably gonna need to use a real knife, and you're gonna hold it at the base of the handle with your thumb and your middle finger, and you're gonna put that index finger on that top flat part. You're putting your index finger to make sure that you're able to apply pressure while you're cooking and for good control over your knife. I'm gonna start with our onion. So first, I went ahead and I cut this onion in half, and now I'm gonna peel off that outside layer because we don't wanna eat that. All right, once we've peeled off that outside layer, then I'm gonna go ahead and cut off the edge of the onion, and I'm gonna cut my onion into slices. Once I'm done with that, I'm gonna set those aside because I'm gonna cook my onions in with my chicken, which is the protein that I chose to use today. The other option for onions that we have are green onions. They're gonna add a lot of nice color to your dish, so that might help with your presentation a little bit. For these guys, you do wanna rinse them, and then you'll be able to just slice them down the side. So you wanna cut your root off first, and then you can go ahead and slice the rest of the onion. So that green onion can add some nice color to your tacos to maybe add to your presentation. Next, we're gonna try and cut our tomato. This is another good vegetable with some good color to add for your presentation. It's easiest to cut a tomato with a serrated knife. That can help get you some better cuts. A serrated knife just has jagged edges. I have a chef's knife though, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it with a chef's knife. And I'm just gonna cut it and slice it. I'm gonna set those off to the side, see if I wanna use those for my presentation. Next, I'm gonna go for my pepper. As we cut our pepper, the middle is filled with lots of little seeds. So we wanna make sure we're kind of cutting around those seeds in the middle now that you can see them. I'm gonna add those over here because I'm gonna be cooking these peppers today. Then I'm gonna go to my zucchini. Again, I rinsed this off first, and now I'm gonna cut the ends off. And then we'll make slices. Lastly, I'm gonna show you how to cut an avocado. There's a big pit in the middle. So we're gonna try and cut it in half and cut it around the pit. So I'm gonna put my knife in until I feel that pit. And then once I feel the pit, I'm going to start cutting around it. So turning that avocado until we can get that pit out. And then you have a nice half of an avocado to work with. I'm going to make slices in the avocado. And then what I find is easiest is just taking a spoon and scooping them out. So I'm gonna wait until we use it later, and then I'm gonna use that spoon and scoop them out to put on top of our taco. So once we have all of our veggies cut up, then we're ready to start cooking. You can choose to use some of these veggies raw if you want to, but we are at least going to warm up our protein. But first, I am going to cook my peppers and my zucchini. So I have my pan on heat, and it's been warming up for a little bit. Now I'm gonna add some oil and let that oil start to warm up. So we've let that warm up a little bit. We're gonna add the veggies that you would like to cook. You wanna hear that sizzle sound when you add it to the pan, because then you know that your pan is hot enough. Before using that cooktop, you always wanna make sure you ask your parents before you start cooking. You wanna make sure you have their permission. As these veggies are cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and start seasoning them. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of salt and pepper just to make sure that you're not using too much. It's always good to use some measuring spoons. So I have a teaspoon here, and I'm just going to use maybe about 1/4 of a teaspoon. So I don't have too much, but I am giving those veggies a little bit of flavor. As you're cooking your veggies, once you start to see they get a little brown, then you know they're getting close to being done. So my veggies are starting to get nice and brown. So I'm gonna go ahead and take them off the pan and set them aside for assembling my taco later. And next, I'm going to move on to my protein. So for this competition, your protein options are gonna be black beans, beef, and chicken. Your protein options are gonna be already cooked for you, so you'll just need to warm them up again. But if you are cooking at home, it's very important when you're working with raw meats to cook them all the way until they turn from pink to brown. You don't wanna have any pink spots left on that raw meat. You wanna get it cooked all the way through. But today my chicken is already cooked, so I'll just be warming it up. So as you can see, it's already turned nice and brown. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my chicken. And then I saved my onions so that I could cook them along with my chicken and add a little bit of extra flavor that way. As I'm warming up my protein, the pan is hot, obviously, so I don't want to touch the pan at all because I don't want to hurt myself. But I am going to hold on to the handle just to make sure that that pan is staying steady on top of the cooktop. And as that meat and those veggies are cooking, I'm gonna keep moving them every once in a while, because if they stay in one place for too long, they might start to burn. But if you keep them moving, that'll help them cook more evenly. So once I see that it's looking like my onions are starting to brown and my chicken is starting to warm up, then I'm gonna start thinking about seasonings. So we're letting you guys choose your seasonings this year. We're going to have taco seasoning, chili powder, garlic powder, onion powder, and salt and pepper. It's very important to make sure you use enough seasoning to enhance the flavor, but not too much so that it's too overpowering. So as you're practicing, make sure you're using those measuring spoons so you have a really good idea of how much seasoning exactly you want to use. So for today, I'm just going to use some chili powder and some salt and pepper to season my meat and my onions. So I'm gonna use just 1 teaspoon of chili powder. I'm gonna sprinkle that around. And then I'll probably just do about 1/4 a teaspoon of salt and pepper, just like I did for those veggies. It'll be easier for you if you use 1/4 of a teaspoon, just to be really precise with your measurements. But for right now, I'm just gonna use the same one. There we go. Once I get all my seasonings in there, then I'm gonna make sure I get it nice and mixed up so that all of my protein and any veggies that you may choose to cook with your protein are going to get nice and seasoned too. Once I have that seasoning nice and mixed in, I'm gonna go ahead and take that off the heat too. Good. And something that's very, very important whenever you are using your cooktop, whenever you're done cooking, you want to make sure you turn the cooktop off. I'm ready to assemble my taco. So I chose to do a wheat flour tortilla for my taco shell. So I'm going to start by adding some of that chicken and onion mixture into my taco. Once I add my protein, I'm gonna add in some of my cooked veggies. A couple of things that you really want to pay attention to with presentation is color and then also placement. This is a time where your creativity can really shine and you can make your plate look however you want it to look. And there you go. So good luck practicing your taco recipes at home, and I look forward to seeing you at the Kids Healthy Cooking Competition.